My husband's body lay before me, wrapped in a white shroud. He looked incredibly handsome and pious. A soft smile rested on his face, and his thick eyelashes added to his beauty. It felt as if someone had wrapped an angel in a white sheet. The women sitting around me whispered softly among themselves. He was such a good man, Khalid. Never hurt anyone's heart. I haven't seen a man like him in my entire life. He treated his wife like a queen. Everyone would always be amazed at how lucky Shehla was. But look what fate did to her, poor thing, widowed so young. Her husband left her. How will she go on now? She doesn't even have anyone to support her. They recalled how lovingly Khalid had brought me home after our wedding. He had even argued with his parents just to marry me. The women continued sharing quiet stories of Khalid and Shehla, and I just sat there, listening in silence. My eyes remained fixed on my husband's face. Not a single tear came to my eyes. From nearby, a voice rose. Look at her. She's in so much shock she can't even cry. I think she's gone numb. Another woman added, Wouldn't you? To become a widow at this age, how could that not shake you to your core? Then someone gently placed a hand on my shoulder. Have patience, Shehla. This was Allah's will. And inside I smiled. Yes, this was Allah's will, and I had accepted it, willingly. Because it wasn't as though I wanted my husband to live. The happiness I felt seeing his lifeless body was something I could never put into words. For so long I had prayed silently day and night that somehow someone would remove this thorn named Khalid from my life. His kindness, his righteousness, I couldn't stand it. My heart had long turned cold toward him. If I had the courage, I would have strangled this good man with my own hands. But I lacked that strength. So I turned to God and he listened. He answered every single one of my prayers. Khalid died in an accident. The innocent smile on his face now seemed like a witness to his purity. But to me, that very face, so full of innocence, filled me with hatred. Helping everyone, serving others, giving away all his money to the poor, these were Khalid's trademarks. And these very traits made me hate him even more. Many times I tried to stop him. Don't give everything away like this, I would plead. But he never listened. He'd reply, It's not really my money. It's a trust from God. And haven't I ever held back from your needs? He was right. Khalid never restricted my expenses. But the kind of luxury I desired was never possible with him. After giving away his extra income to the poor, he would sleep peacefully. And I would lie awake at night, restless. I wanted a big car. I wanted a diamond set. I wanted everything the wealthy had. But Khalid could never give me those things. He would say, I'm giving you 2 meals a day and a peaceful life. That's my duty. But I wanted Khalid gone from my life. And now he was. He had quietly left this world forever. And as I sat beside his corpse, I was celebrating inside. Yet not a hint of that joy showed on my face. I kept a solemn expression. I couldn't even bring myself to cry, no matter how hard I tried. My mother-in-law, who was sitting across from me, looked at me and suddenly said aloud, This woman has devoured my son. All this ruin, it's all because of her. My young boy left this world in the prime of his life, and she destroyed every good deed of his. The women present tried to calm her down. Don't say such things. Your daughter-in-law has just become a widow. Try to understand her grief. He was your son, but he was also her husband. Khalid's aunt gently tried to reason with her sister, but my mother-in-law kept hurling curses at me, one after the other. And in that moment, I didn't realize what it truly meant to bear the curse of a grieving mother. A mother's curses can shake the heavens, just like her prayers. And soon, very soon, I would witness the consequences of what I had done. When Khalid's body was taken for burial, the entire house echoed with sobs and wails. But I sat silently in a corner, completely at peace. Some told me, let the tears flow. Others said, cry, at least for the last goodbye. But I just leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. My heart exhaled in relief, and I whispered to myself, just a few days of pretending. And then I'll be free of all these burdens. This house had always suffocated me. But now, freedom was on its way. If I could, I would have danced in joy. But I held back for the sake of appearances. One by one, all the guests left. The house grew quiet. I went to my room, bolted the door from inside. And then, the way I celebrated. Only I and my Lord know. I had never felt such peace in my life. It didn't feel like my husband had died. It felt like I had been set free. I immediately picked up my phone and dialed a number, held it to my ear. A few rings later, the call was answered. Congratulations, Sheila. Without lifting a finger, the thorn in your path is gone. He's buried, covered in soil. I'll come to your house soon, pretending to offer condolences. That way, I can see you too. Hearing Jalal's voice, I burst into laughter. Of course, I've been waiting for this day. These are the very prayers I've been making for so long. Then I lay back on my bed peacefully, dreaming of a beautiful future. Ever since I had met Jalal, my hatred for Khalid had only grown deeper. Jalal was Khalid's business partner. Our first meeting was at a formal dinner, one I'll never forget. I had worn a red sari that evening. Holding Khalid's hand, I entered the event, and there, standing at the reception, was Jalal. The moment he saw us, he walked straight toward us. Seeing him, I forgot to blink. He was 6'4", a striking young man. The kind who could make any woman's heart skip a beat. When he extended his hand toward me, I panicked for a second. I looked at Khalid, who sensed something strange too, but I quickly took Jalal's hand and greeted him with a smile. Throughout the entire event, Jalal stayed near us. He complimented my beauty several times. Even told Khalid how lucky he was to have a wife like me. Hearing that, I was elated. Gradually, Jalal kept praising my looks, and my heart began to drift toward him, naturally. At the end of the event, as we sat in our car, I couldn't hold back and said, Khalid, your friend Jalal is really impressive. Why don't you expand the business with him? Khalid looked at me and said, when I started the business, I didn't know Jalal well, so I didn't make it big. And with time, I realized that Jalal isn't a very honest businessman. That's why I never expanded the business further. I don't even like interacting with him much, Khalid said in a matter-of-fact way, but I was surprised. To me, there wasn't anything wrong with Jalal, and I told Khalid just that. What's so wrong with Jalal? Khalid glanced at me briefly, continuing to drive. There's just something off about his character. Take that time, for example, when he reached out to shake your hand. He knows what kind of family we come from, yet he completely disregarded that. Hearing Khalid's words made me furious. Where had this old-fashioned thinking come from? Had it always been there, or had I been so blind that I never noticed it before? I had married him believing I loved him. Before marriage, all I saw was Khalid's big house, his car, and his loving words. But after marriage, I realized that Khalid was not the man I wanted him to be. I loved spending money like water. I wanted everything luxurious. I wanted Khalid to take me on tours around the world. It wasn't that he was a cruel husband or placed restrictions on me. He always provided for my needs, but all the extra money he earned, he gave it away to widows and orphaned children. He didn't hold back on my necessities, but the luxuries I craved. He didn't desire those for either of us. He preferred a simple life. That not only baffled me, it made me angry at my fate. How could I marry such a wealthy man and still be left longing for so many things? Gradually, my meetings with Jalal increased. Whenever Khalid wasn't home, Jalal would find some excuse to visit, and he wouldn't stop complimenting me. A few times, Jalal even asked me, Shahla, how did you end up marrying Khalid? I mean, what kind of girl could live with someone like him? It's as if he's from another planet. I honestly think he just pretends to be so righteous to impress the world. Listening to Jalal, I started wondering myself. In this day and age, how could someone truly be so righteous? I began to think Khalid's good deeds were just a show for the world. I never got along with Khalid's mother either. Khalid had married me against her wishes, and she was never happy about it. If I spent too much on makeup, my mother-in-law would be the first to criticize me. She too seemed to wear a facade of righteousness, at least that's how it appeared to me, both mother and son pretending to be virtuous and compassionate. 6 months passed, and my heart leaned fully toward Jalal. Sometimes he would call me at night, and I would secretly pick up his call and talk to him lovingly behind Khalid's back. Many of my desires, Jalal fulfilled them. He brought me expensive makeup from abroad, and I was overjoyed. Of course, I kept all of it hidden from Khalid. As time went on, I felt like my life with Khalid was falling apart. My youth was slipping away, and I wasn't finding the happiness I longed for. Jalal seemed to be the man who could fulfill my every wish. A man just like me. Someone who enjoyed spending money as much as I did. So I grew even closer to Jalal. In my heart, I wished Khalid would leave me somehow. Because of that, I started treating Khalid poorly. I refused to listen to him. I constantly undermined him. Whenever he tried to help someone, I would grab his hand and try to stop him. But Khalid would only explain gently. These small acts of kindness make our lives easier. They save us from bigger troubles. But I'd just snap at him. Enough with the theatrics, Khalid. Stop pretending. It's been years since we got married. Now I too had come to realize that all of this was just for show, just to impress the world. Whenever I voiced these thoughts, Khalid would often look at me in anger. Sometimes his face would fall, but I didn't care about his feelings anymore. Whether he was angry or sad, it didn't matter to me. All I wanted was for him to set me free. But I lacked the courage to ask for a divorce. I was often haunted by the fear. If I divorced him, where would I go? After all, Jalal had never mentioned marrying me. And then one day, out of nowhere, Khalid met with an accident. He left this world so quietly, no one even knew. But his funeral. It showed the world how truly good he had been. So many people came to pay their respects that it was impossible to count them all. Many women sat beside me and cried, telling me how Khalid had supported their households. Countless orphaned children were reciting Quran for him. But my heart was filled with peace and joy. Then Jalal told me that Khalid's burial was done, and he was coming to see me. I quickly got up, dressed well, and applied a deep shade of lipstick. It was around 11 at night when Jalal came to see me. By then, all the guests had left. I stepped out of my room because Jalal was sitting in the drawing room, but as soon as I entered, I found my mother-in-law there as well, sitting with Jalal. She was stunned when she saw me. Then, with anger, she said, "Daughter-in-law, have some shame. Your husband's funeral was just this evening, and look at how you're dressed. Don't you know a widow has to observe her waiting period? Jalal is a stranger. Go back to your room and change your clothes. And until your waiting period is over, I don't want to see you like this again, wearing lipstick and all. You don't know any proper manners." Her words ignited a fire within me. I looked at Jalal, but he remained silent, watching me. Even he couldn't speak up in front of my mother-in-law. Fuming, I stomped back to my room. Jalal left shortly after. Later, he called me and said, "With your mother-in-law around, it's impossible for us to meet." I broke down into sobs. I had gained freedom from Khalid, but now my mother-in-law's chains were binding me. What could I do? I had no family of my own. I was reliant on her, so I had no choice but to listen to her. Then Jalal said something so softly. It startled me. He said, "Why don't you just leave that house? Now that your husband is gone, who's going to question you? Leave and come to me. Forget this waiting period nonsense. I'll take you in." I was shocked to hear his words. I didn't want to endure these restrictions anymore, so I agreed. I spent a few days in silence, and then, one night, I quietly packed my belongings, left that house, and Jalal's car picked me up at the corner of the street. He took me to a small flat and said, "My family doesn't know about you yet, so I can't take you home, but we can stay here together." With that, he began to move closer to me. I stepped back, nervous, and said, "Jalal, you promised you'd marry me." He replied, "Of course I will, but first, let's enjoy each other's company a little." Hearing this, I panicked. "No, Jalal, I want to get married first," I said firmly. He laughed and said, "Fine, I'll bring a judge and witnesses first thing in the morning and we'll get married." That night, he left me alone in the flat and went away. The next evening, he returned with a judge and witnesses, and without completing my waiting period, I married Jalal. I was overjoyed. Finally, I had reached my goal. Jalal had promised that soon he would tell his family everything and that things would be fine. He painted me beautiful dreams of our future, that he would take me on tours across the seven seas, gift me a big mansion, surround me with luxury cars and servants. And I was basking in those dreams. I had these things at Khalid's house too, but I always wanted more. My greed and desire never seemed to end. It was this very greed that led me to marry Khalid in the first place. And now, after marrying Jalal, when the judge and witnesses left, Jalal moved closer to me. After chatting for a while, he leaned in, but just then his phone rang. He said, "It's some urgent business. I'll be back soon." With a smile, he walked out. But when he returned later that night, his state shocked me. His gait was unsteady, and I realized at once that he wasn't in his senses. When he sat down near me, I could smell the alcohol on his breath. Alarmed, I asked, "Jalal, have you been drinking?" He laughed loudly and said, "Of course, I often drink, and sometimes I even do ice." His words left me stunned. I was terrified of people who drank. Khalid had never touched even a cigarette, let alone alcohol. Scared, I backed away. But Jalal, clearly not in his senses, grabbed my hair and yanked me close. "Where do you think you're going? You married me, Ma. Now I'll claim my rights." With that, he pushed me onto the bed. I told him to come to his senses, to stop what he was doing, but how could he, after drinking so much? That night, he not only forced himself on me, he beat me as well. When my condition became very bad, he put some documents in front of me and said, "Sign these." I picked them up and saw that they were business documents. Whatever share of Khalid's business had passed to me after his death. Jalal wanted it all in his name. I had no idea that Khalid's will had left me such a significant share of his business. But Jalal knew this very well. He demanded, "Sign it. Put the entire business in my name." I glanced at Jalal, and for some reason my heart screamed that what was happening was not right. So I refused. "No, I won't hand Khalid's business over to you. It's mine now, and I'll fulfill my every desire with it." Hearing this, Jalal slapped me so hard across the face that my lip began to bleed. With disdain, he said, "What do you think? Did you think I married you to make you my wife? Who would ever want to marry a woman like you? You couldn't stay loyal to such a kind and virtuous husband. How will you ever stay loyal to me?" Jalal laughed bitterly. "I deliberately trapped you. I knew I needed your husband's share of the business, and your husband didn't die in some accident. I made sure he was eliminated. I thought once he was gone, it would be easy to claim everything. But then the lawyer told me Khalid's will left everything to you. That's why I brought you here and married you. Now sign these papers and transfer everything to me." When I shook my head in refusal, he opened his phone and showed me a video. My mind reeled. There on the screen was everything that had just happened. I had no idea where he'd hidden his camera, but he had recorded the entire abuse. "If the world sees this disgrace," he threatened, "where will you go? Who will give you shelter? You don't even have a family to turn to. So if you want to stay with me, sign the papers." After a lot of beating and abuse, I finally signed. He was thrilled, smiling triumphantly while I mourned the immense loss I had brought upon myself. Had I remained in Khalid's home as his widow, I would have had a secure life. But now I had handed everything over to Jalal. As Jalal turned to leave, I called out to him, "When will you take me to your home? How can I live alone in this flat? I'm scared." He turned back, laughing cruelly. "My home. My wife and 4 children live there. I'm very happy with them. You were just a pawn to me, nothing more. I have no ties to you. The flat door is open. Go wherever you want." His words hit me like a slap. In a fit of rage, I grabbed his collar and pulled him down. Unsteady from his intoxication, he stumbled and fell. I spat my anger at him. "I'll kill you. How could you betray me like this? I betrayed Khalid all along because of you, and now you turn out to be a married man?" He laughed bitterly. "You didn't betray Khalid because of me. You betrayed him because of your own greed. The life he gave you, the comforts he provided, they weren't enough for you. That's why you prayed for his death. And now you're blaming me?" I was trembling with rage. I reached for a heavy lamp nearby and struck him on the head. Blood poured onto the floor. It was only when I saw him motionless, lying in a pool of blood, that I realized he was gone. Panic set in. I quickly packed my belongings and fled from the flat. I ran aimlessly through the streets with no destination in mind. Eventually, I reached a desolate area with makeshift huts. A group of beggars were sitting there, talking among themselves. A frail old woman saw me and called me over. "Where are you running to?" she asked. Sobbing, I said, "I need shelter. I'm scared. I killed someone. I'm afraid of the police. What will happen to me if I'm caught?" She gave me a place in her small hut and said, "You can stay here with me." And so I began living in that makeshift shelter. I had no money, so I resorted to begging on the streets. As I sat on the roadside asking for coins, I would remember Khalid. He would always stop and help any beggar he came across. He had sent countless poor children to school, supporting their education. One day, I was sitting on the roadside with a begging bowl in hand when a car stopped beside me. The window rolled down and someone extended a hand to drop money into my bowl. I sat with my head lowered, but then I lifted it abruptly because the car hadn't moved on. My eyes fell on the woman inside the car who was staring at me in stunned silence. It was none other than my mother-in-law. A cry escaped my throat. "Amma!" I sobbed, bursting into tears. She stepped out of the car and embraced me. "Where have you been, Shayla?" she said. "I've been searching for you everywhere." Through my tears, I told her everything. She listened silently for a long time. Finally, she said, "Come, get in the car. Let's go home." I was stunned. The very woman whose son's death I had prayed for, she wanted to take me home. "My son's gone," she continued. "I've been completely alone. At the very least, I can spend the rest of my life with you, knowing that, if nothing else, you are my son's love. I can't leave you here on the streets. If Khalid were alive today and saw you like this, it would break him." She took me back to that house, the house I had once prayed to be free from. As I entered, I realized just how safe that house had been for me. After cleaning up and getting dressed in fresh clothes, I went to her. She placed a wonderful meal in front of me. I broke down in tears. She took my hands in hers and said, "I held so much resentment against you. I knew you were greedy, but today I hold no grievances. Fate has taught you right from wrong. You've already paid the price for your actions. Maybe Khalid's life was written to be this short. One must never let greed blind them, so much that they fall into an endless pit." Hearing her words, I wiped my tears and begged her forgiveness. She proved herself to be a true mother, Khalid's mother, forgiving me with incredible grace. After finishing the meal, she said, "A few poor children and widows will be coming to collect rations today. I want you to hand it out yourself so you can experience what true peace feels like." I nodded, and I distributed rations to the needy. That night, I experienced a sense of peace I had never known. Now I understood what Khalid meant when he spoke of peace. And to all of you, I say this: our peace does not lie in material comforts or temporary luxuries. True peace lies in reaching out to help others, in doing good for humanity. Come forward. Extend your hand to help others and save yourself from falling into the pit of greed.